One moment that made me feel like I was really heading towards something special was when I was 11 years old, and this was a year before I felt a little burnt out, but this was when I was skating like 5 days a week, very competitive, and I just got this new coach who worked with Johnny Weir. And if you're into skating, you know that Johnny Weir went to the Olympics. He now is still very famous and active in the skating community, and she taught him all the way to the top. And after my first lesson with her, she called my mom and she was like, I have the same exact feeling about your daughter that I had with Johnny Weir. Hi, I'm Tacy Brown, and today I will be talking about my figure skating career.
Welcome, Tacy Brown.
A typical day during the most intense period of my skating training was me being 8 or 9 years old. I was homeschooled, and me and my mother would wake up early, go to Delaware. It was a summer camp when we would train the most, and I would have my first skating session, a break, stretch, and then do off ice, which was like push-ups, all of the off ice training, and then go back to skating, rest, stretch, and repeat all day until the afternoon. And we do that 5 days a week. So I got into ice skating growing up because my mother was a figure skating coach, and I remember when I was 3 years old, my big Christmas present was a pair of ice skates, and she raised me on figure skating, and that was all I ever knew growing up. So my earliest memory on the ice is when I was 2 years old, right around the time I started walking. It's actually one of my first memories I have. I was just skating around holding an older skater's hand because I couldn't skate on my own yet, and I was all dressed up in a little cowgirl outfit for a winter showcase. The first time I landed a big jump that I worked towards was the axel, and if you're in the skating community, you know the axel is the first really big, difficult jump you learn, and I had a goal when I was 7 to land the jump cleanly before I turned 8 years old. And the entire time I was 7, I would practice it every day, still wouldn't land it cleanly, or I would just be too scared. Birthday, I had a lesson with Kimmy Meisner, who, again, if you're in the skating community, you know who she is. She's from Maryland, and she won Worlds, and she was in the Olympics. She's a very big skater, but my mom set up a lesson with her, and I landed my axel in that lesson, and it was 2 days before my 8th birthday, so I accomplished my goal of landing an axel before I turned 8 years old. So the feeling of burnout I felt as a teenager, there was a lot of reasons I started feeling that way. I think part of the reason I started feeling that way was who I surrounded myself with, because none of my friends at the time had any sorts of extra activities, any sports or hobbies necessarily, and I just felt kind of left out and like a loser for having a hobby of my own. I remember feeling that way around 12 or 13 the strongest, and I just remember at certain points I would just be skating at the rink and I felt like tears rolling down my face because I just did not want to be there at all. At a certain point I just started resenting the sport overall because of that. I kept skating until I was 17 years old. Surprise. So coming back to skating after having almost a year off has been nice. I don't really skate as much as I would like because I am very busy with work and school, but the days that I can skate are really fun. I really like skating with my girlfriend, teaching her some new skills, and I would like to eventually come back and try all my old jumps again and see if I can do it on my own.